your faith. Demystifying the myths and mysteries of faith. The Great Deceiver. As someone who was born and raised in the northern United States, I know what cold is. Someone from, say, Alaska or northern Russia, on the other hand, they'd have a whole other experience with cold and would welcome weather that I would call cold. Man's perception of cold is a purely relativistic experience. Most people would agree that 0 degrees Celsius is cold, but it's not as cold can be. There is a limit, the point at which all molecular vibration ceases. It is called absolute zero. That's also the complete absence of heat. On the contrary, there is no known limit to the amount of heat that can be injected into matter. Even in the core of a star, there are ways to make it even hotter. Cold does not exist. It is merely the absence of heat. Heat exists, and in its absence, we call it cold. When we measure temperature, we are measuring how much heat is in matter. Just like cold, there is no such thing as hate. There is only the absence of love, with no limit to the amount of love you can give. And there's no such thing as evil. It is only the absence of goodness, which brings us to our next myth. With heat, there are objective points we use to define the temperature. Water turns from a gas into a liquid at a certain point. We call it the boiling point. Liquid water then turns into a solid at a point we call freezing. Most people would consider freezing to be cold and boiling to be hot. But where are the objective points between good and evil? That is what makes evil so dangerous and seductive. There is always some good to be found. From 1939 through 1945, Germany knew an evil unlike anything ever experienced in human existence, and anyone of any good conscience would agree that it was evil. But many people there experienced great prosperity during that same time, and a lot of our medical knowledge came from experiments conducted by that objectively evil regime. Many people can look at the same evil thing and only see some kind of good that comes from it. Even if they know it's evil, they will tolerate or even embrace it because they could see some good in it. Or it benefits themselves in some way, no matter the harm it may do to another. As Edmund Burke said, "The only thing necessary for evil to prevail is for good men to do nothing." The Bible and almost every religious text tells of the coming of a great leader who will come and oppose their ministry. One that will come and deceive the world into following them and lead the sheep astray. The Antichrist has already been here, is here, and will come. There have been many of them, and many more are yet to come. I'm not talking about the one foretold in the book of Revelation that foreshadows the second coming of Christ. That's a whole other myth for a whole other time. I'm talking about the one that will rise at least once in each generation. There have already been many antichrists, and many more will come. So how do you recognize it when they are here? The key to recognizing who and what the Antichrist is in the very word, anti-Christ. The prefix anti does not just mean to stand against or be the enemy of, as most people understand it to be. It also means to be the opposite of or to detract from. The Antichrist will not necessarily be an enemy to Christ or stand in open opposition to Christ. Instead, they will speak and do the opposite of what Jesus taught. "I was a foreigner in your land and you invited me in." Matthew 25:35. When a foreigner resides among you in your land, do not mistreat them. The foreigner resided among you must be treated as your native born. Leviticus 19:33-34. Where we are called to accept the foreigners in our land and treat them as our neighbors, the Antichrist will drive them out. The religion that God our Father accepts as pure and faultless is this: to look after orphans and widows in their distress. James 1:27. Where we are called to care for the orphans and widows, he will make policies that benefit the wealthy and cut programs for the orphans and widows. He will surround himself only with people who agree with him and will attempt to silence any dissent. They will appear to come from among the believers. They will preach of their own righteousness, and they will publicly claim to be another sheep among the flock. They will appeal to the believers as a believer for their own gain. They will literally take the Lord's name in vain. They will rise to power during a time of hardship, economic, religious, political, etc., and promise an end to the struggles that the people are facing. Usually, it's a hardship that they or their followers have created. They will be a president who sends out a press release publicly bragging about the prayer meetings they hold in the Oval Office. That same Oval Office where they signed an executive order to give themselves nearly absolute power. They will be a political candidate who stands in front of a crowd at a church and says, "I love you, Christians. I'm one of you too. Vote for me because I'm one of you." They will convince multitudes to join the crusade against the poor, against the refugee, against the immigrants, and they will do it all for their own glory. Where Jesus says to care for the foreigners in your land, the Antichrist will promote violence against them, and worse, he will do it in Jesus' name. These are just a few of the more prominent examples in our time, but the biggest and most prominent trait they will have is this: they will convince the sheep that the wolves are the protectors and invite them into the flock because they themselves are a wolf that has come to prey. I know you all know who I'm literally talking about. It's kinda obvious. Yes, he is Antichrist. And the religious right is eating it up. If you continue to follow him, if you continue to support his policies, you can no longer call yourself Christian. You have turned your back on Christ, and history will count you among the villains alongside those innocent Germans in the 1940s. You say you want America to be a Christian nation, but then follow a leader that is called the real Jesus, a loser from a third world country. As Matthew 25:40 says, "As you have done unto the least of these, so have you done unto me." If you have enjoyed this and want to see more, please give it a like and subscribe, and make sure you share it on all your social media networks.